Hello and welcome to another gameplay breakdown, the second in our 3-part vote. Warwick won the first one, and the next video will be Echo, but for this particular game, we will focus on Kindred. While this might bear some similarities to the previous video in terms of having a strongly lead, it's slightly different because with Kindred, it can be very difficult to achieve that depending on your team, and your pathing can take some interesting turns in the quest for marks. We will also look at potential split push opportunities and solo objective control that will allow you to end games before the enemy can scale back into it. In order to achieve this strong snowball with Kindred, I would usually advise a 10 mark, a 20-minute goal. In this game I managed to get 11, and it can go a long way to helping you solo affect the game in a way that allows you to end quickly. For this reason, my early game is very important, and after conducting the standard red wolves blue clear, I choose to tape my grump and leave this quadrant of the map cleared. I noticed that my mark spawned on the bot side, but I'm fully aware that Master Yi started blue, and so I should be okay rotating over. Now, don't forget to do what I call the Kindred awareness test, especially early on in the game. Ping your first mark in the river, which will always be scuttled unless you've had a successful invade or something like that, and take note which of your teammates rotate. This will gauge how likely your team is to care that you exist, and who you can count on should there be a contest over gaining a mark, because sometimes it isn't feasible just to sprint over and take the enemy's grump. I ping the river and Lulu promptly rotates over. Also note if your lanes are pushing or not. If my bot and top are being pushed against, then it's highly unlikely that they'll be able to help should the enemy collapse. Treat your marks like counter jungling in that sense. Anyway, I gain a first mark and decide to venture into the enemy jungle in order to place a ward down and see if Master Yi completed all of his blue side camps. He started blue, and given that his grump is up, he obviously went directly to wolves. I'll take the grump and leave a ward behind so we can see when he rotates down expecting to take it, which, of course, he won't be able to do now. From this angle, Kindred can still pull off a successful gank. I'm not expecting to get a kill, but I go in on the Sona and make sure to force the third proc on my E for the wolf bonus damage, and that forces the heal from Varus and the flash from Sona. This is actually a successful gank, and hopefully it's enough to turn the tide in any fight that my bot lane might have. Now remember that Raptors and Krugs are hard to farm early for Kindred, and given the rest of my jungle is cleared, we have time to execute another gank, this time on the mid lane. I don't switch my mark from Yi because I don't want to force GB to move back. Just prior to the gank, we do see Yi moving past his Grom thanks to the ward I placed earlier, but he's in no position to make an impact on this gank. I use my E, continuously order him down. He turns back towards me, I assume because I was slightly behind the corner and he wasn't sure I would continue the chase or have the damage to kill him, and this overconfidence is punished by Kassadin as he flashes in and we secure the first blood. Yes, Gangplank should have just run back, but he didn't expect the damage, or I don't know, hadn't seen a Kindred in so long he wasn't sure what they did. And yes, this was a diamond game. I move back down the mid lane and loop around because I'm paying attention to my mark spawns. I'll put up the graphic I used in my Kindred guide, but when you clear a camp, a new mark will spawn 45 seconds later depending on the amount you have. As such, I know that either Scuttle will spawn or Raptors. Given that Scuttle appears to be down, it should be spawning at Master Yi's Raptors, but I'm unsure of his location and I'm yet to go back, so it's really not worth the risk. However, I see GP TP in and decide to go for another gank. We burn his flash, but Master Yi is right there to counter gank. I'm lucky to flash out alive and stick around to order the minions while watching Yi chasing Kassadin. I rotate over, hit him with my E, and as Yi flashed in already, it's a free kill. Again, Gangplank underestimates Kindred, doesn't have the vision, and as most Kindreds don't pay attention to the W radius, this is a good example of how to simply use your limited mana and health to get a Q and order off, which will have wolf attack who you are attacking. And all of a sudden we are 3-0 with 2 stacks and the next stack right in front of me. I quickly move over, accidentally derp and Q towards the camp, but I managed to get it. You'll ask if it's worth getting executed there for your mark, and the answer is 100% yes. After respawning, I clear my grump and wolves before heading down to the dragon side Scalded Crab, as it has respawned and with a mark. To free grab as Yi is busy ganking bot lane, and given that he's already being quite greedy, once he sees Kassadin and myself walking down over what I assume is a wooded bush, he might as well fully commit to the tower dive, but it doesn't pay off. I leave the Sona kill for Kassadin, and from here it's well and truly how we maintain and use this lead with everyone ahead. Kindred thrives in soloing epic monsters and also in the split push, as well as with making assassinations. So we'll look at some examples of that in this video. After the bot lane skirmish, I have just enough mana and HP to solo the fire dragon before returning to base. Make sure you hop over the wall before you go back. I buy and do a full clear of my jungle from red to top and notice that Yi is down for a few more seconds. I assume he got greedy while trying to farm, and as he didn't gank as well as truly behind at this point, I have no qualms about venturing into his jungle. However, all we need to do is make one mistake and the enemy could greatly punish us. I move up directly after blue and take my next mark spawn while keeping a close eye on the top lane. Vladimir hasn't changed his behavior, so I know that my pathing towards the enemy Krugs was outside any vision they might have had. This therefore is an easy gank. I don't waste my ult, I don't panic, I know Vlad will die from the gank, and I just bide my time. It's important to be aware of your leads and how far ahead you are or how far behind the enemy is, because sometimes, especially something like Zed or Vlad ultimates where the damage can creep up on you, you don't want to not use your ult when you could have survived. After taking down Vlad and seeing my bot lane furthering the lead from the 2 ganks I received, I solo the Rift Herald. Again, we're trying to end the game quickly, and I'm trying to take control of that myself. I'm not going to let the enemy farm up and reach item power spikes where they can easily destroy us. I want to snowball my mark lead and gold lead. After securing the herald, I buy, I move back out, and I switch my mark to gangplank, but long before I plan to gank. I use a loop around pathing pattern so he can't see me coming, I hit him with my E, and know that I'm going to fully commit to this gank given how far I am ahead, and as I have my ultimate to dive, it should be safe. Gangplank flashes away, and I follow up that with an automatic flash Q auto, which guarantees the proc of my E damage and finishes him off. I use my ult to tank the tower and his ultimate barrage. The important part of diving as Kindred is knowing where you won't be hit by the tower, so you can tank the initial hits, heal up, but when your ult disappears you don't actually get hit by a last tower shot and die. So I'll move towards the closest location where the tower won't be hitting me, and I just have to wait for my ult to finish, heal me, and I'll be on my way. However, as you can see, Master Yi finally gets into the picture and secures a kill. I couldn't really move anywhere, I couldn't let the tower get me because of my ult, and now I'm the feeder on my team. Nevertheless, it's not the end of the world, and I do need to be careful not to do that too many times, but that's just a good example of how you can use your ultimate to go in for a tower dive kill and get out. Upon respawning, here is where you have the Kindred Conundrum. Do I go support my bot lane who are pushing the top towers and secure another mark for myself, or do I prefer going for the second Fire Drake upcoming? Clearly, if I was not Kindred, you know you're going for the Fire Drake, so that's what I do. I'm not interested in flanking and face checking the gangplank sitting bot lane because I'm unaware of Master Yi's location as well as some of the other enemy champions. I simply want to go steal their blue buff and take the Fire Drake. However, thanks to a nice ward, Urgot and I see the GP going back, take advantage of the situation, and take him off the map. After which we can do the dragon and give the rest of our team time to push towers. However, as we finish the dragon, Master Yi is starting to do some damage and takes down my Kassadin who's pushing a little too far up. If my Lulu doesn't get off her exhaust, he might have cleaned up both kills and gotten out. Fortunately though, he goes a little too deep because he's probably quite tilted, but we still have 2 people off the map versus the 1 only for them. I know my ult is up very soon, and this is why I have the I regret my decision moment, because the Rift Herald is about to expire and I get a little too greedy to defend the mid tower and fight. I didn't expect the gangplank to show up from the top side, but he does. My ult comes off cooldown just in the nick of time for this fight. Varus mistimes my ult and flashes out. I get my marked kill on him, and the TP on Vlad takes me out. All that focus gives my Sivir and Urgot time to clean up, but we still lost the Rift Herald. If you want to split push and take towers and punish enemy over-aggression or lopsided maps, you definitely want to make sure you time that Rift Herald usage and don't sacrifice it like I do in the name of defending 1 tower or getting a kill. If your bot lane does take advantage of your early pressure and assistance, remember you have a fed ADC to rely on in teamfights and rotations, and that's huge for pushing tower objectives and ending early. So a hint for you, camp bot lane. Alright, so far so good. We are really far ahead, but how do we push this game over the edge? They got a couple kills in this mid lane, they stopped the herald push, so we need to make sure we're in a position to actually finish this game. I see a mark spawn on the Krugs on the top side, I see Master Yi and Vlad on the bottom side of the map. Resist the urge to chase down and help your team here. Take the 8th mark and hard push that wave. You have static Shiv, you are in a strong position. I've gone for securing the top lane in a tower while Kassadin pushes mid towards the same goal. We have a 1-1-3 split push and the enemy is doing exactly what you expect, chasing a Lulu and Sivir with ults. Remember to keep an eye on the action in bot lane or watch the minimap carefully as you want to see when they decide to come back to stop you. When split pushing, don't do it pointlessly, don't do it at a bad time. If for example I was split pushing here and they send 3 to kill me, I can't complain if my team isn't in a position to capitalize. It's on me just as much as them to play around a split push. Ideally you are either pushing as the enemy overchases on the other side of the map, or you're pushing at the same time as the rest of your team so the enemy has to decide which lane to defend. And as you see in this other Kindred game that I played where I was fed and I had the Rift Herald, I managed to get an inhib tower and they had to send 2 over to kill me. And if you're pushing at the same time as your team, that means your team will have a 4v3 fight and hopefully they can win that. So just keep these things in mind when you are split pushing and pay careful attention to the enemy's locations. After getting the top tower and forcing Varus to come and defend it, and we see GP defending the mid, I'm about to go back but see Vladimir over pushing and Yi also roaming around still on the bottom side of the map. I rotate mid, push up the minions with Kassadin, take the enemy wolves, see Yi clearing a ward, he probably thinks he's a little bit safe, and once again showing the importance of putting vision down in the enemy jungle. I engage him in the bush, I don't waste any unnecessary cooldowns, I know I can handle him 1v1, I always have my ult if things go badly. I take him off the field, I hop over and snatch an assist from the Urgot who caught out the Vladimir, and now I have enough to get an item power spike. Remember what I said earlier about teams just randomly pushing, and in previous videos about how exploiting their numbers advantage, and then how that can allow a scaling enemy team to win a few fights while holding onto the base, which in turn closes the goal gap and can let them win? Yeah, my team is doing that, because they didn't want to wait 5 seconds for me to rotate up with them after buying. Fortunately though, we have a Lulu, but Sivir loses a flash, and the practice in general isn't the best way to close a game. I understand that they're fed, but just blindly pushing 2v4 or 5 is never going to win you the game. I rotate immediately up though, melt them in 2 seconds, get a double kill, and now we can push in Hibs as Urgon and Kassadin have joined us. It's very important in this situation that you rotate and be with your team, especially if they are over pushing a little too much and the enemy's trying to force engages to get back into the game. You're fed, rotate up at this point, and help them out. The situation is inherently different to the split pushing situation earlier. That one I had a mark plus crucial towers I could take for free team gold, while the enemy wasn't in a position to actually kill my team. Whereas in this situation, we are focusing on the inhibitor towers and we need a whole team to get past that wave clear and to punish any overcommitment by the enemy. The game seems to be in the bag at this point. After getting 2 inhibs, I can go back, we can destroy the Baron with my 11 stacks, and then we can just push and end. You might be thinking, well, that's boring and nothing new, you snowballed, it was an easy win, you had a million kills, they had none. I agree with you, but when you are fed as Kindred, a fed marksman jungler, you can let your team do their own thing sometimes, because they won't always work out. Maybe the enemy team will catch them out and kill them. Well, you can continuously secure objectives, make easy picks, and use your ult to save them if needed. Or you can assassinate enemies that get caught out in bushes, you can split push very easily with your Q giving you attack speed as well. But most importantly, make sure you're getting the marks you can that are free, make sure you are applying pressure on the map, and when your team is ready to group and end, you're there to help them with your ult. Thank you very much for watching. Join me for the final gameplay breakdown of the week where, with Echo, we will look at how we can make an impact despite being completely uninvolved, so it'll be the opposite of the last 2 videos. Please like, comment, and share if you enjoyed, subscribe for more jungle videos, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.